Tamagotchi, an egg-shaped keychain that could die if you forgot to feed it during math class. Released in Japan in November 1996 and in the US the following May for $17.99, it was less a toy than an obligation. The first pet millions of kids were trusted to keep alive on their own, with an alarm that didn't care what class you were in. This is why your teacher started confiscating handheld electronics before Lesson 1 even began. Most schools didn't have a policy for a beeping digital corpse until Tamagotchi forced one. By 1997, Bandai had shipped over 10 million units, and its creators picked up an Ig Nobel Prize in economics, a real, Harvard-adjacent honor for turning millions of hours of human labor into virtual pet sitting. That same year, Bandai released a version that let two Tamagotchis mate over infrared, producing a digital offspring the two kid owners then had to jointly raise. Nobody asked for an early lesson in co-parenting from a keychain, but that's what it became. The craze cooled by 1999, but Bandai never let the original die. It relaunched the exact 1996 design worldwide in 2018, and as of last year, cumulative shipments had crossed 100 million units. This past July, Bandai released the newest version yet, built around the same core mechanic every original owner still remembers instantly. Look away too long, and it dies. Pokémon cards. Everyone remembers the rumor that the game was secretly built to promote Satanism, except that never came from Nintendo. It came from playground gossip and worried parents groups. Wizards of the Coast brought the trading card game to the US in December 1998, and by mid-1999, it wasn't a toy anymore, it was a currency. This is why you learned to spot an inflated trade before you ever opened a bank account. Schools had to write actual policies on card trading because kids were getting cheated, and some got hurt over it. In Philadelphia, police arrested 6 children in a single card-related assault, calling it, at the time, one of the most dangerous hobbies among kids in the city. What everyone actually remembers wrong is the panic itself. Local news ran segments blaming the cards for promoting the occult, and by 2000, the rumor had spread far enough that the Vatican issued an official statement clearing the game of any satanic intent. There was never an investigation, never any evidence, just a moral panic that outlived its own premise. Wizards of the Coast kept publishing new expansion sets through 2003, when the license moved to the Pokémon Company directly, and the game never actually stopped running in the background of millennial life. It just went quiet for a decade. Then the nostalgia market caught up. In 2022, a single first edition Charizard from that exact 1999 base set, the same card kids were trading at recess, sold at auction for $420,000, a record for the set. That's not even the ceiling. In February 2026, a Pikachu card that was never sold in packs at all, handed out only as a 1998 illustration contest prize, sold at auction for $16,492,000, the most expensive trading card of any kind ever sold. The playground currency never actually lost its value. It just moved into a different kind of trading. $5. That's what a Beanie Baby cost at Thai Incorporated. Its counters, when they launched in 1993, sold only through small specialty shops, never big chains, on purpose. By mid-1996, that scarcity strategy had turned into a nationwide frenzy. And this is why, if you check your parents' closet right now, there's a real chance a box of these is still sitting there. Families didn't just buy toys, they bought investments. Collections wrapped in plastic and stored, never played with, because Thai kept retiring designs to manufacture rarity. So how do you turn a $5 toy into a national speculative bubble? You make people believe it's about to disappear. It worked for years. Collectors were reporting average profits of 500% at the peak of the craze. In September 1999, Thai announced every Beanie Baby line would be retired for good, expecting one final demand spike. Instead, nothing. No swell, no rush, just panic selling on a new platform called eBay, which for the first time let collectors compare listings side by side and discover the rarity had mostly been manufactured all along. By 2000, newly retired lines were selling 3 for $10. The bubble didn't leak, it popped in one season. The mythology never really died, though. It just changed platforms. Sellers on eBay today still list a common Princess Diana memorial bear, released weeks after her 1997 death, for anywhere from $40,000 to $325,000. The last one that actually sold for real money went for $175. Tickle Me Elmo, a $28.99 toy that put a man in the hospital. Tyco Preschool released it in July 1996, and even after shipping 1 million units, stores sold out in minutes that holiday season. This is why, every December since, you've watched some version of this same shortage panic story on the news. It started here. But what made Tickle Me Elmo dangerous wasn't the doll. It was the shortage. On December 14, 1996, a Walmart stock clerk in Fredericton, New Brunswick was unpacking a shipment when a crowd of roughly 300 shoppers spotted him. He was trampled, left with a broken rib and a concussion, his jeans torn in the crush. Scalpers pushed resale prices as high as $2,000 that December. One charity radio auction in Los Angeles sold a single unit for $18,500 for a toy that retailed at $28.99. By the time the dust settled, Tyco had sold roughly 1 million units and pulled in $350 million in sales in under 6 months. Numbers big enough that Mattel bought Tyco toys outright the following year, partly betting it could repeat the trick. It never quite did, at that scale. But Elmo became the industry's permanent cautionary tale. The toy every future holiday shortage, from PS5 restocks to Hasbro's own reissue 2 decades later, still gets measured against. Furby, a $35 toy the U.S. National Security Agency treated as a foreign spy device. Tiger Electronics launched it in October 1998. It appeared to learn English the longer you owned it, and demand outstripped supply through the entire holiday season. This is why you probably asked, years before smart speakers existed, whether your own toy was listening to you. People don't remember Furby as a toy anymore. They remember it as a national security incident. In January 1999, the NSA banned Furby from its Fort Meade offices, worried the toy's chip could record classified conversations and repeat them back. The ban made national news.
But according to Furby's own creator, the toy had no recording hardware at all. Its learning was a scripted illusion, several hundred words triggered by sound, nothing stored and nothing played back. The NSA quietly dropped the ban once Tiger Electronics confirmed there was nothing to fear. What the agency didn't know, Hasbro had already agreed to buy Tiger Electronics for $335 million that same February, months before the panic even started. And it was Hasbro's manufacturing muscle that got Furby onto shelves in time for the holiday season that made it a phenomenon in the first place. The craze faded by 2001 and production stopped the year after. Hasbro relaunched Furby in 2023, this time with actual voice-activated technology, the exact capability the NSA had wrongly assumed it already had 25 years early. It sold well enough that Hasbro kept the line running past its first holiday season, a rare second act for a toy from this era. Slap bracelets. A 9-inch strip of steel that snapped into a wristband the instant it hit your arm. Wisconsin schoolteacher Stuart Anders' design hit stores as slap wraps in the fall of 1990 for about $2.50, and it took 1 semester to spread through elementary schools nationwide. This is why, if you were in school that fall, you remember teachers physically checking the edges of bracelets before letting kids keep them wearing them. Cheap knockoffs flooded shelves within weeks. Competing manufacturers copied the design using unsealed, exposed steel edges instead of the original's fully wrapped fabric, and kids started getting cut badly enough to need stitches. The Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection issued a formal recall of the counterfeit versions.
2 elementary schools in New York, Colonial and Sewanoi, banned the bracelets outright after a documented cutting incident, and Pennsylvania schools followed within weeks. An entire toy category effectively regulated out of classrooms in 1 semester. Here's the detail that gets people. Main Street Toys, the company that mass-produced the original slap wraps, was founded by former Coleco executives, the same company that had marketed Cabbage Patch Kids through the riot-plagued 1983 holiday season. They built this new company specifically to avoid repeating that chaos. It didn't work. Different toy, different decade, the exact same problem. Bopit, a toy that stayed popular by insulting you every time you lost. Hasbro's Parker Brothers division released it in 1996. Inventor Dan Klitzner had spent years reworking the concept, originally pitched as an interactive TV remote, before it became a standalone toy that barked commands and heckled you out loud when you failed. This is why you learned to laugh at losing in front of your friends years before fail became internet shorthand for the same thing. It wasn't the twist-pull-bop mechanic that kept Bopit on shelves. It was the voice. The recorded heckling, lines like "fail-tastic," made it as entertaining to watch as to play, which is exactly why it kept selling out even in its second year. Hasbro itself had warned Klitzner that novelty toys like his usually lasted 3 years tops. Bopit broke that math immediately. Stronger sales in year 2 than year 1. 2 years later, Bopit Extreme raised the price by $5 and still sold 50% more units anyway. There's a small footnote buried in the sound design. An early build used Homer Simpson's "DOH" as the failure sound, recorded specifically for the toy, then pulled at the last minute over rights, years before the internet turned "DOH" into a household meme on its own. Nearly 3 decades later, Bopit is still in production, with Star Wars, Minions, and Bratz tie-in versions Hasbro never originally planned for, plus a 25th anniversary edition in 2021 built entirely around the original sound clips. Troll dolls, palm-sized plastic figures with neon hair that stood straight up no matter how many times you brushed it flat. Originally Danish from the 1950s, they were relaunched into the US market at the start of the 90s, named Toy of the Year by the American Toy Association in 1991, and by 1992, sales of Trolls and related merchandise had swelled to $700 million. This is why you probably still have one in a junk drawer somewhere, instead of a shoebox of investments. There was nothing to trade or lose, just hair to brush. But what made Trolls last wasn't the dolls girls were collecting. It was the version Hasbro tried to sell to boys. In 1992, Hasbro launched the original Battle Trolls, action figures marketed with the tagline, "Big-haired dudes with bad attitudes." It lasted about a year before being quietly discontinued. A rare, fully documented corporate misfire in the middle of a craze that was otherwise printing money. Here's the part almost nobody knows. The original 1960s Troll dolls had actually fallen out of US copyright protection decades earlier, over a paperwork technicality, which is exactly why any manufacturer could legally flood shelves with cheap knockoffs during the 90s boom. No licensing required. Congress finally closed that loophole in December 1994, restoring the original copyright. By then, the market was already so saturated with unlicensed copies that the craze had nowhere left to go. Then, in 2016, DreamWorks turned Trolls into an animated film that grossed over $347 million worldwide, with 2 sequels since pushing the franchise total past $600 million combined. The toy millennials once brushed at recess is now the toy their own kids are asking for, just with a movie and an actual copyright attached. If this took you back, subscribe. More of your childhood is coming.